I now reconvene the regular council meeting for Monday, January 12th, 2026. Before we move on, we'd like to acknowledge this meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. I welcome everybody in the gallery and anybody that will be viewing from home. First up, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, January 12th, 2026? Councillor Popoff, Councillor Ray, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes of the public hearing of Monday, December 8th, 2025, minutes of the regular council meeting of Monday, December 8th, 2025, minutes of the special council meeting of Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Brissett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving into bylaws, we have one bylaw for consideration tonight from Engineering Development Services Department regarding the cross connection control bylaw number 4230 2026. Can I have staff, please? It's Curtis on hand to give us a review of this, and it's before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. Curtis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Bringing forward what we're calling the cross connection control bylaw. It's to deal with backflow and contamination back into the city's water system. It's a best practice to have something like this to prevent these types of incidents, but it also to look at the liability of the city if an event does happen. Can we go back to the owner or person that's doing it at the place at the location? We've been requiring backflow preventers for a while under the building code and the CSA requirements. However, Interior Health Authorities issued a letter a couple of years ago now requiring a number of operating conditions that we've been slowly working on as staff. And as you're aware, like the UV treatment and things like that. So yeah, bringing this forward to fulfill their requirements so that we have a proper cross connection control program documented in our operational manual for Public Works.
Pardon me. Thank you very much, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to cross connection control bylaw number 4230 2026? Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Graham. Discussion. Councillor Popoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly something on the books with Interior Health for probably a decade or two. What is the current cross connection control program up in the industrial commercial parts of Cranbrook? I'm thinking the restaurants, some of the industries that have difficult contaminants that might get sucked back into our water systems.
Councillor Popoff through the mayor. Currently right now we don't have anything on the books. So that's why we're bringing this forward.
Very good. And is this sort of standard water wastewater association practices that we're adopting?
Yeah, so yeah, we're looking at adopting this standard CSA operations and what's in the BC building code. We've looked at other communities to look at a program that's not too in-depth, as some communities hire staff and actually go out and operate and check the backflow preventers themselves. What we're doing with this is relying on the facilities that have backflow preventers to submit regular annual reports.
So this is a really good first step for the city. Should anything occur, it could be very catastrophic for the city and the water system and all the follow-up and the cleaning and everything else, and the time. So this is very good start for the city.
Thank you for that. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to cross connection control bylaw number 4230 2026? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Brissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to cross connection control bylaw number 4230 2026? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thanks, Curtis. Moving on to new business. We have one item of new business for consideration tonight from Engineering Development Services as well. regarding development variance permit 3090.20.2511 in regard to subdivision development servicing bylaw number 3633, 2008 at 720 28th Avenue South. Can I have staff please give us an overview of the report? Santana, floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. This application before you this evening is to seek a variance for the offsite improvement requirements that are standard in the surface level area in our subdivision and servicing bylaw. For clarity, this application is not seeking approval or refusal of the proposed subdivision to facilitate the infill lot, but is only debating the merits, debating the approval of whether or not you guys want to require the offsite services that are outlined in the report. The application is to provide a two parcel subdivision to create an infill lot in the Highlands neighborhood. The intent of the subdivision would be to prepare the lots for sale, not to develop or build. If the application for variance is not approved, there would be requirements by the applicant to widen the road, install certain amounts of sidewalk, curb and gutter along the two new parcels in front of their property, install ornamental street lighting, underground electrical distribution systems, and upgrade the communication distribution systems. The rationale for the variance approval would be that the existing neighborhood has been fully developed for several decades, and this would be not in alignment with the neighborhood character should the variance be denied.
Thanks, Santana. Could I get a motion that council approve development variance permit 3090.20.2511 to vary the offsite service and requirements for subdivisions in the city of Cranbrook subdivision, in the city of Cranbrook subdivision and development servicing bylaw number 3633, 2008, to waive the highway service and requirements, including sidewalks, curb and gutter, street lighting requirements, and electrical and communications distributions for Lot 10, Block 2, District Lot 3558, Kootenai District Plan 4408, PID 012-359-009, for the purposes of a two-lot parcel subdivision. Mover, please. Councillor Blissett. Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
So I took a drive up there, and of course it's in the middle of an existing street that does not have sidewalks. Everything else is already there, so I think it's a fairly simple decision on this one. Now, in terms of the actual subdivision, given the province's push for density, is the decision whether or not they're able to subdivide that lot going to come back to council?
Through Councillor Stetsky, through the chair, council has already approved lots of this size to be subdivided. So the minimum parcel size is 400 meters square across the R1 low density residential zone throughout Cranbrook. That was brought forward with the Bill 44 zoning bylaw update back in June, I believe, last year. So it's the subdivision proposal won't be coming forward to council at a later date. It's already been approved.
Further? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Santana. Moving now to correspondence. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. Would council like to receive for information, make a motion on any items referred to staff? So we got 12.1 UBCM receive for information. Okay, everybody good with that? 12.2 restorative justice potential motions. Councillor Stetsky.
I will make a motion. During the process where we had grant applications and looked at this one, at the time, I did not vote in favor of this application, but I would like to propose a motion that we do support up to $5,000 coming from last year's council contingency. We had a little over $5,000 left in the council contingency for last year. And the reason for that is that after speaking with both the RCMP and Cranbrook staff, and this was subsequent to that decision around grants, they pointed out that really having restorative justice in place relieves a lot of the costs from the RCMP having to proceed with charges. And that's the rationale for making this motion at this particular point in time.
Mr. Mayor, I need to recuse myself as I'm on that board.
Thank you. Before I go for seconder, Marnie, can you just read back what you got from that motion? Excuse me. Yeah, Mark?
We're just gonna change mics for you there. There's something going on with your microphone.
Oh, right on. Good stuff. Is that better? That's better.
I'll get that. What's that?
So Councillor Stetsky has a motion on the floor. Marnie, could you just read back the motion so we can get a seconder on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, so maybe, so we do have the one motion, however, Mayor Price, maybe if we could just ask that we have to have two motions, because the last year's council contingencies now in last year's budget. So in order to do that, there's a remainder of $5,135.22. That was not spent in 2025. So in order to enable the motion that's on the floor, we need another motion for a carry forward of unspent 2025 council contingency funds. Otherwise, it would have to be funded from the 2026 council contingency funds.
Thank you. Seconder. Oh, Councillor.
What are we seconding?
No,
So yeah, I guess what I was
Like,
just saying,
where are we at with motions here? Just for
we have
clarity.
one motion on the floor, but in order to enable that, we need a prior motion to carry forward the funds unless we wanted to spend the 2026 funds.
Okay.
That's all I was trying to say.
so we need the motion to carry the funds forward
If the council wants to use the
first or
2025.
secondly?
Yes, first.
First, okay. Councillor Stetsky's making that motion, seconder?
But point of order is we already have a motion on the floor waiting for a seconder. So how do we clean that up before we do this? 'Cause
Okay, I
we
guess
already
we'll go with that on the
Councilor
motion and
Stetsky already
defeat it and
proposed
then.
the motion. So we have a proposed motion on the floor waiting for a seconder. So does Councillor Stetsky want to take that motion back?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, let's do this one first.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so maybe if I could propose the motion
Thank you.
for council, that council authorize the carry forward of unspent 2025 council contingency funds, $5,000 to 2026 as motion one.
Yes, okay.
And
well,
further, then this is Councillor Stetsky's motion, is the second part of that would be that council approve funding of $5,000 funded from council contingency carried forward for 2025 to partially support the Crown Recon District Restorative Justice Society's request for emergency bridge funding for payment of coordinator compensation.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Stetsky, seconder? Councillor Peabody, discussion? Councillor Peabody?
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I'm getting a little mixed up here, but I'm just curious, does the RCMP fund restorative justice at all? Do we know that? I guess we wouldn't. We don't really have an RCMP representative here that would be able to speak to this.
Councillor Peabody through Mayor Price. I can't say for sure if they provide any funding to restorative justice. I know they support the work that restorative justice does, and that they work closely with restorative justice, but I'm just sorry, I don't have
Yeah.
that information.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm just thinking in the future as opposed to restorative justice coming to council every year looking for a grant. if this is just something that we can just make part of the RCMP budget. And because it seems to be more of an RCMP, initiative more than something that council should be funding.
Councillor Peabody through the mayor. If there is any funding coming from the RCMP, it's not funding the entire operations of
Yeah.
restorative justice. I'll just leave it at that. And ultimately, if it's part of our budget, we still pay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking instead of restorative justice having to come year after year asking for another $5,000, if it's just one of those things we should just have available for them in one way or another. Yeah, just a thought.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'm just looking for clarity. Are we speaking to moving the $5,000? Is that a separate motion, or is this $5,000 and this? I need to know what.
It's combined, yes.
So it's a combined motion
Yeah.
then? Okay. So I guess what I'm worried about is that this here feels like it's just been kind of put in through the back door, and now we're faced with having to deal with this letter and a money ask when it went through a process and it was assigned a dollar amount. So I am quite uncomfortable with this because it just allows others to then write a letter and maybe we'll support it, maybe we won't, but it just now we could be bogged down in more people saying, well, you didn't give us money, here's why we really need it. I'm going to write a letter, maybe mayor and council will go back on their decision. So that just raises a flag for me.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brissette.
Thank you. And further to that, then we should open it up that all the groups that didn't get full funding should be able to come back to us and ask again, which we really don't want to do. And yes, this is a worthwhile group. Every group that applies for money from our grants to organizations process is a worthwhile group. They serve different needs in our community. And that's why we, allocate resources to that. And the decision was, no, this wasn't going to work. And so I'm going to stay with that. I don't, we spend a fair bit of time on that process. And it is the will of council, how that we all submitted our input, and then we weighed that out and made our decision. So I would like to stay with that.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I absolutely agree that this is a valuable program in our community. This is, it's my understanding that this is a BC registered nonprofit society and a CRA registered charity. And of course, the folks who are on the board of this body are legally responsible for the oversight and the financial management, et cetera, of their organization, which is a heavy responsibility. Like, we appreciate everybody in our community who sits on volunteer nonprofit boards, because it's not always smooth sailing. If you have a key staff person leave, or there's changes on the board or external changes, the seas can get rough. And as a volunteer position, it is not easy. So I appreciate all the hard work, that has gone into this. I fully agree that we do have a process for our nonprofit grants through the city. We have completed that process. I would be very cautious about setting a precedent that then if you don't get approved in the nonprofit grant process, you can then have another kick at the can. As I have mentioned before, in our policy for council contingency, the guideline for the maximum ask is $500. We have talked about potentially increasing that to around 1,000 because we've done that fairly commonly, but this kind of amount would certainly be well beyond what is actually our policy for council contingency. And I don't want to get into the weeds of the details of the situation, but I will just say broadly that, from time to time, nonprofits
hit difficult times that their boards need to then sort through. And sometimes the actual best course of action for long-term success is to temporarily pause operations and to have the volunteer board fully focus on getting their governance where it needs to be in terms of securing funding in order to hire staff, in terms of ensuring they have director and officer liability insurance, having policies and procedure in place. So there definitely have been nonprofits in our community that have found themselves in that situation and have paused operations, got their governance house in order, and then were able to move forward with great success. So I would just share that for consideration to the directors of this board. Because of those reasons, I'm not able to support this motion.
Thank you. Certainly from my perspective, our role as council is, governance. And, we make our decisions based on policy and procedure. This would be outside of our policy and procedure. So, as much as I appreciate what they do in the community, I don't think at this time I can support it just because it's outside of the policy. We went through the process and the results were what they are. And to, I guess, sort of come in through the back door type of thing is beyond what our policies and procedures allow. So I'll be voting against this. Anything further? Call the question. All in favor? All opposed? All opposed. Councillor Stetsky is in favor. So the motion is defeated. You send them home? You go home? Welcome back. Last piece of correspondence, 12.3. Potential motion, council, to support to have an exploratory meeting with the East Kootenay Division of Family Practice regarding community initiatives related to physician recruitment, brought forward by Councillor Ray. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Stetsky. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
So at the risk of costing another loony, when I was mayor, of course, physician recruitment has been an issue for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was back then. And so we formed what was called the Red Carpet Committee to recruit new physicians. What that committee was a mix of physicians, local tourism operators, et cetera. And so we would invite somebody, I'm not even sure where the invitation came from, excuse me, would invite a physician to come to Cranbrook. They would be taken up to the hospital, potentially to a clinic by linking them up with some of our current physicians. Tourism people would then tour them around for a few days and show them what a wonderful place this was to live. And then as mayor, my job was closure, very last call, saying how much we wanted them to come to Cranbrook. And we were successful, I think, at getting one or two new physicians through that process. What everybody warned us against, and I still support, is not offering like $100,000 to bring a physician to a community. And some communities were doing that, but what would happen is that the physician would come, get the $100,000, stay a year or two and move somewhere else because they really didn't want to be in that particular community. And so I think we should always avoid that kind of approach. The other one that's interesting, of course, as you know, watching the news, there's a community here in BC that has kind of set a new standard where the family physician actually works for the city. What that did for the physician was get rid of all of the admin costs for hiring staff, keeping the office open, et cetera. And there are other communities across Canada that are looking at that model as well now. And I guess some physicians find it really attractive. Their major cost and headache is all the administrative stuff around setting up an office and running it, et cetera. So there are options that I think we can look at to try and encourage more physicians coming to Cranbrook.
Great insight. Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to see this motion on the table. I think there's great potential in terms of working with the East Kootenay Division of Family Practice. The City of Cranbrook and City Council were able to support their campaign a few months ago in the summer in terms of promoting the registration site to be connected with a primary healthcare provider. So because we helped amplify that message, an additional 168 Cranbrook residents added themselves to the Health Connect registry. So it's great to see that we already have a positive start in working with the East Kootenay Division of Family Practice. And I see great potential in this initial exploratory meeting to see other opportunities to work together and really have a positive impact in our community. And of course, healthcare is inherently important. We want people to be healthy and have a healthcare provider. It is also an economic driver. If you can pick a community to come to start a business or to live or to work remotely, and you have a choice between a community that has sufficient family doctors and a community that does not, you are more likely to come to the community where you know you're going to get good health care. So it is important in and of itself, and it is also a key economic driver.
Thank you. Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thank you. So back to the red carpet days, I recall those days. It was the whole community that got together to promote Cranbrook. And the biggest part wasn't to convince the physician, it was to convince the spouse, it was to convince the family that this is a great place to come and live and go to school and recreate and find a secondary job or whatever. And the whole community was part of that red carpet piece. And you talk about Councillor Stetsky. So if anything, that might be a goal of the city to help mentorship something like that to happen again beyond just our primary role.
Back to Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, just quickly. So as you know, the province is also has a campaign undergoing in the US to try and get American doctors and nurses to come to British Columbia. I don't know how we would get on their list, but if there's a list they're putting together in terms of where we want those physicians to land, it'd be great to be on that list.
Yeah. Something we can pursue if this motion is carried. Yeah. Further, council? Yes, CEO Fitzgerald.
Just sort of not to get into debate, I just wanted to give council one little further bit of information around the city's support towards healthcare recruitment. Is we're currently in discussions with Interior Health around securing a few spaces in our new daycare that the city's building strictly for exactly that purpose, for the purpose of recruitment in healthcare. So that's in the early stages because obviously we haven't even broke ground yet.
Yeah, great point. That's something that, is often forgotten. Certainly, when we've talked to professionals that are looking at moving to Cranbrook, one of the top 3 questions, probably top 2 for the young professionals with families is, do you have adequate daycare? And we haven't had adequate daycare here so yeah, that will make a significant difference in some of the decisions going forward for sure. Anything further, council? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for that on that. That was a fast one tonight. Brings us to Mayor and Councilors' reports and inquiries. Let's start with Councillor Stetsky tonight.
Thank you. Just 2 quick things. On New Year's Eve, I attended the Bucks hockey game and we won. Special moment. Also took the opportunity to take family that was visiting out to Fort Steele. It was for an evening, and it was great to see the fort open. They've really come a long ways, and I look forward to the new improvements and continuing at Fort Steele going ahead into 2026.
Councillor Peabody.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention this coming Saturday, there'll be another plant-based potluck at the Manual Training Center, 5 o'clock. So to help you with Maybe some of your New Year's resolutions were to include more plant-based meals and improve the health of your diet. So anyways, 5 o'clock at the Manual Training Center, all welcome. Just bring something to share, a plate and a fork.
Very nice. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. This past Tuesday, I was pleased to attend the Chamber's consultation process regarding DCCs with their chamber members, and just to really appreciate that opportunity to listen and learn from the chamber members, and look forward to the online consultation with developers and builders that's coming up on the 22nd. Seeing nodding heads. So looking forward to that. And of course, the online survey is available. And it's great to hear people in the community chatting about that, and looking forward to filling that out. So we really appreciate everybody's feedback and participation in that. And then I'm going to double check this with Councillor Peabody, but I believe Oliver is still on. Yes, because I think Councillor Peabody knows someone in the cast. Yes. So if you haven't got your tickets to Oliver, and if you can still get tickets, you should really try, because it is an amazing production. So once again, kudos to that whole team that puts that together for our community. It truly is top notch. So if you have time, check out Oliver.
Thank you. Councillor Papa. I think Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I just have just a couple of questions, maybe just some food for thought for our development people, Mr. Matika there. But what I'm wondering is I know that when we're looking at land and we're seeing some of these last pieces that are in the city limits that aren't on the fringes tend to be land with like huge frontages. Is there any way that we can maybe work on encouraging some development on there? Like, I know that like the biggest setback is how much the frontage, the upgrades would be on some of these frontages. Like I think of Echo Field or up along the top end of Victoria there. It's just how they front. And just wondering if there's ways that we can, I'm not made an answer tonight, but just ways that we can look at maybe seeing some of those lots begin to build, so it isn't maybe a stumbling block or something. I just wanted to throw that out there. It would just be nice to see some of these lots begin to be developed, if possible, that it isn't necessarily a burden, but something that could be split up. I just wanted, just some, maybe a thought on that, or.
Councillor Graham, through the mayor, that is noted. We do know that there are a few parcels, especially within the city, that do have a bit of an uphill battle with conventional subdivision and development servicing bylaw upgrades due to the nature of the long frontage and in comparison to the area of the property. We have looked at that a little bit in the past as far as a variance for those upgrades, but again, then that leaves a service gap if we're saying, well, no sidewalk, especially on something like Victoria. So maybe there are some other alternative ways that we can look at it, where we'd have to look at other ways to fund something like that to relieve the burden, but still make sure that we're not having a service gap. So I think that's something we do have that bylaw open right now for considerations for improvements, and then maybe we can have a chat with our consulting team to see what other communities are doing from a best practice perspective there.
Cool. And then one other thing was just along the, I know we were moving forward on the density corridor tax exemption along Victoria. Is as far as that is in place now, correct? And has there been any uptake, or has there been anybody talking about that or utilizing it now that it is in place?
Councillor Graham, through the mayor, yes, it is live. We did that engagement session with the Downtown Business Association focus. Right now, our team is working on getting a mail out sent out to all the property owners, because some of those properties are owned by people that maybe aren't aware of it or from out of town, especially when we're looking at downtown. So we're working on increasing that campaign. We have had some interest. We haven't had anybody come in and say, I've heard about that, so now I'm going to go. But we're looking at packaging that with some other items as well. We're doing an updated development guide, because we do think in addition to that tax exemption program, there's other good factors at play right now overall with the economy. us being able to share some of the information that we have with the housing needs report and some of the other economic information that we do have, that hopefully now is a good time for them to move forward. So yes, it's as of today, we had a couple discussions about making sure we were promoting that more holistically to try to get some more activity happening.
Yep. I've got one quick question and then just a comment. Sorry to put you on the spot, Curtis. I should give you a shout and give you a heads up, but for the approving officer, Curtis, how many subdivision applications are you currently working on? And how many do we have on the hopper in the queue going forward into 2026? Any idea? Ballpark?
Your worship, Mayor Price, I believe there's about 8 applications that in the queue that I still have to issue preliminary layout approval on, so that's quite a bit. However, 5 of those came in the first week in January. Overall, how many are actually potentially going to go forward this year? It'll depend on the developers, but there definitely could be a dozen or so that they're legitimate, decent-sized subdivisions.
Thank you. And the other comment I've got is I see that the regional district is putting a survey out to their Area C residents respecting remuneration to the city from the Area C users of our recreation facilities in Area C. So it's good to see them. Thanks very much to CAO Virtual. CAO Virtual and I have been working with the RDK for the last 6 months, hoping to get something in place for this year. I don't think we'll see anything in 2026, but certainly I see this culminating into possibly into something prior to the election next year. So, it's been a long time. I don't know that user fees, we had user fees at one time. We made very little money on that. In fact, administrative, we were probably losing money when you look at the administration. We've been very fortunate that their current CAO and the Area C Director, Rob Gay, do recognize that there is a burden on the Cranbrook taxpayer, with the users. 20% of the users of our facilities are from Area C. That's a projection. So, it's significant. So they're committed to working with the city to try and find some solution so that the city is compensated down the road on that. So very positive news. And again, thanks very much to CAO Virtual, and thank you very much to the RDK for taking these measures. So, yeah. And with that, nothing further. I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Peabody, all in favor? Opposed? Nobody's opposed? Adjourned.